Hi, everybody. It's Gene Simmons, and you're not, and you're listening to the Potter Than Hell podcast with Steve, BC, BB, and Dylan. But you knew that, didn't you?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Potter Than Hell podcast. This is your last stop on the crazy train of hard rock and heavy metal. So sit back, buckle in, and hang on. Here we go.
Hey, you Potter Than Hellions out there. Welcome back to another episode of the Potter Than Hell podcast. My name's Steve. I'm one of your three co-hosts, and I'm joined as always by
BC.
And behind the keyboards tonight again is
BB.
And we have another returning guest this week, Jim Polkowski. He was here with us, early in the in our podcast history. And welcome back, Jim.
Hello.
And we brought Jim back for he's our resident Motorhead head, you could call him.
Motorhead.
And before we get going here, I promised that if someone gave us a 5-star review on either Facebook or iTunes, I would read it. And we got a good one here from our buddy Mark Arnold. He gets with us all the time. He comments on us and all the time. He gave us a good review. I'm going to read it for you guys. Every week, these guys give their opinions on the world of hard rock and heavy metal in a relaxed, laid-back way. They've been to a lot of concerts over the years and give insights into the shows as well. They often have great co-hosts, including some friends of mine, who bring yet another viewpoint on great music. These guys have turned me on to some awesome albums and bands I hadn't heard before. Check them out. And Mark Arnold, thank you very much for the review, and keep listening, spread the word out there, and we have a blast doing this podcast, and we appreciate you listening. And anybody else out there, give us a good review. We'll read it and we'll get you on here. Okay, let's talk about some Motorhead, you guys. Jim, give us a little history on Motorhead.
Motorhead was
Reader's Digest version now.
Reader's Digest version. Motorhead was formed basically in 1975 after Lemmy was asked to leave Hawkwind for doing the wrong drugs. He was busted in Canada. If I understand it correct, he was picked up for speed, charges were dropped, but because he wasn't doing acid like the rest of the band, they asked him to leave.
Yep, he's doing the wrong kind of drugs.
Yes. So then he formed Motorhead with...
He didn't get the memo.
Yeah, he didn't get the memo with Lucas Fox and let me think of the other guy. I can't think of the other guy's name. They did it. They did a couple of gigs. They were going to record a single, and before you know it, instead of just doing a single, they did a whole album. And they opened up for Blois Cult and some other bands like that in England, and the following has just been going and going.
All right, yeah, and actually, when they recorded that first album, it was on United Artists label, which was Hawkwind's label, and they hated it so much that they just put it on the shelf. They didn't even put it out. And what we're going to talk about today is the, in quotations, the classic lineup of Motorhead, going from the beginning up to Iron Fist when Fast Eddie Clarke left the band. They did that first album. They put it on the shelf. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. And so now they put out in, where are we at? August 21st, 1977, the first Motorhead self-titled album comes out on Bronze record label. And good album, very, very raw sounding. I enjoy it. It's got some good stuff on there, stuff that they've done right up to the end. Iron Horse Born to Lose was a song that they've played like all the way through. And BC, what's your thoughts on the first Motorhead album?
It's enjoyable. I mean, it doesn't really catch me as some of their other ones do. But like you said, Iron Horse Born to Lose. I even like The Train.
BC likes Vibrator.
Yeah,
well,
even the song.
Yeah, that goes without saying. But I mean, overall, doing the show has really got me into stuff I haven't normally do, and it was different. I like it.
I think it's a great debut album. Like you said, it's very raw, and if you listen to it, and you listen to a lot of Motorhead, especially the stuff that Lemmy's on, which is all of it, obviously, you realize that, like he's always said, we play rock and roll. Not necessarily a metal band, rock and roll. Because if you look back to his influences, who he grew up with and who he liked, the Beatles, Eddie Cochran, Gene Vincent, Chuck Berry, Little Richard, you could take their songs and play it through Motorhead's backline and you have a Motorhead song. You could take Motorhead's song and you could play it like a skiffle tune and you have those rockabilly tunes from the 50s. It's that simple and that's all it was. And they all sound like that. and I love it.
Yeah, I enjoyed the album. Like BC said, it didn't really catch me as much as the ones as we go along here. But there's some good solid stuff on there. And BC, I just want to tell you, you're not going to be like Lemmy. We're not going to throw you off the podcast for drinking the wrong kind of beer. So you can drink whatever kind of beer you want here and just enjoy it. Okay, we're not going to throw you off the show.
Thank you very much.
Phew. Wait a minute. What if it's near beer or something like that?
Well, we don't consider that real beer.
Okay.
Real
A
beer.
little coarse cutter.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah, we know that's not an option.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah, I'm more like BC on this one. It took me a little bit to get used to. Very bassy, heavy bass sounding. I like the Motorhead song, the opening track. I thought was pretty good. And like you other guys said, the Iron Horse song is good too. When I first started, I went in order, and I don't know what it is. It was tough to get through, but it is still actually, it's pretty good. It's actually growing on me. And like BC said, doing all this homework that we do, normally I would, if you had a couple bands lined up, I probably would not pick Motorhead as my first one. But they are starting to grow on me.
They'd be in your top 50 at least.
At least top 50.
Okay. Yeah, I like I said, I enjoyed it. I think it was a solid debut. That it set the tone for the rest of the career of Motorhead. And there's no one that ever sang like Lemmy. There's no one that ever will sing like Lemmy. And we're going to talk about influences later on. But just it's a good base. It's a good start. It doesn't kick you in the head. It's not like the first Van Halen album or something like that you're like, it was like a life-changing album. And I do have to say that I came late to the Motorhead party. I really didn't start getting into them until maybe the early 90s, and really not like a rabid crazy Motorhead fan. And believe me, there are some rabid crazy Motorhead fans out there. We have one here raising his hand right now. And but really good. Go ahead, Jim.
Can I tell you the first time I ever heard Motorhead?
Absolutely.
Sure could.
It was, as growing up as a Catholic boy, the Holy Saturday Mass is that epic long 3-hour performance. I forget which album it was, but I got home and I threw the Motorhead album on here. Gotta listen to this. And it was like unbelievable. And that's just like, here it is, Holy Saturday, everybody's all there, and I'm listening to Motorhead. Don't get any better than that.
That's cool. That's definitely cool. Yeah, like I was aware of them because they were out, late, like the late 70s. I had no clue on these guys. Like, I think maybe the first time I heard them was maybe around 81, 82. When I was starting to listen to a little bit of heavier stuff, but they definitely, down the road, definitely hit me pretty hard. Like you said, the first album not crazy great, but next album, Overkill, put out in March of 1979. This album solidified their sound.
Yes.
Open up with Overkill, just a great song, and it really takes off from there.
Yeah, this is probably, out of the 6 we talked about tonight, this is definitely my favorite. I love the song No Class. The second I heard it, I'm like, wow, that guitar riff is bottoms up from Van Halen. Holy cow.
Only better.
Only a little bit not as
Trust
good
me,
as
I'm right.
Van Halen. But yeah, what a great album. Like a Nightmare is another good tune on here. Even the slower song, Capricorn. Mm-hmm. It sounds so different to what they're somewhat used to.
Again, I agree with BB on this one. When I listen to all these, this is probably like in my top 5 Motorhead albums of their
And there's a
career.
shitload. There's like 20, I think 22 studio
22
albums.
studio and then live. But I mean, Overkill, my favorite, Stay Clean. I tried it, but it never works. No Class, Damage Case. I mean, there's not a bad song to me on this album.
I have to agree. It is if you remember way back when you had me here the first time, I was one of my picks for the sophomore album.
Sophomore albums, yep.
And it's just a great album, start to finish. Overkill. I mean, the way that song started was Filthy Animal said, I want to learn to play the double bass drums and not just have them up on stage for looks. So he was just sitting there pounding it out. The guys walked in and said, don't stop. They just started banging onto it, and that's how the song came out. And if you listen to the way it just doesn't end, they just keep going back into it and back into it. It sounds like they're having fun. They found the mixture that they wanted to make an album and make the band, and they just were having fun all the way through it. And Capricorn is one of my favorite tunes, period. Damage Case is pretty much, my life in a Motorhead song. It's just a great album. Louie, the single was recorded before it, and that was kind of like their feeler thing when they put that out, which is a pretty cool version of the song. And you hear it, it's like
It's different.
faithful to the one.
It
that's
is.
like,
It
what
is.
the heck?
But it's just weird hearing Lemmy sing it.
Yes.
You're so used to seeing it on Animal House.
Yes.
And then here's Lemmy singing it. And I agree with you guys. I really enjoy this album. It is definitely like a light year ahead step from the first album. They really started to gel, and I just want to talk about Lemmy's sound. Like he's not your conventional bass player. He plays it like a guitar.
Mm-hmm.
It's
very-
him strumming chords with that bass. It's crazy.
Well, the way he started, when I believe the story goes,
He was never a bass player.
No, and Hawk went into the bass player, and they said, "Here, make some noise in G," and so that's what he did.
Yeah.
That's how he started his style.
Yeah, and there's you can get guys playing Motorhead songs. You will never get anybody that sounds like that.
never.
You can even put someone up there playing his equipment, and it will never sound.
Which I
will never
feel
sound.
should be in the Smithsonian, but that's just me.
Oh, absolutely. You know what? No, fuck the Smithsonian. Put it in a fucking rainbow. Put it in a
But
in a
keep
nice.
it out of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, because that place is a piece of shit.
Yeah, that's a whole nother fucking story.
yeah.
Don't get me going on that. But I really enjoy it. I kind of disagree with these guys. I'm not really a fan of the song Capricorn for some reason.
That's
And I
it's a
don't.
slow and kind of
Yeah,
mellow
and I
out.
don't like
Which is different
Metropolis
for a Motorhead.
on this album. I like it live. I think it has a lot more impact live.
I think everything does.
Oh, absolutely. But like this, like
Especially the way they
especially Metropolis, because that's one of the songs that I don't like on the studio, but I do like it live.
Well, he wrote those lyrics on the fly after seeing the movie. I can't think of the Fritz Lang movie. Great, I drawn a blank on it, and that's where it just came out. That's why the lyrics. He even said the lyrics to some of the strangest lyrics. They don't make
Oh
any
yeah,
sense.
absolutely. See, BB, that's one thing you're gonna have to get up on the movies and the pop culture stuff, because Dylan usually has those answers
Yeah,
for us
yeah.
with stuff like
Boom,
that.
boom, boom.
Jim would be thinking of a movie and Dylan would have it, boom, just like that. And I just have to bust your ass.
We'll have to call Dylan. We'll phone a friend.
Yeah, absolutely.
phone a friend.
He's a lifeline for the show. Yeah, and it was a great start. And the funny thing is that as you go along here, it's just they have a momentum going at this point, and they just keep it going.
Like I think this album, like you said,
Well-
they got their sound. I think first album's good, but I think it's very plain.
Well, when they did the first
Rock and roll,
album
but-
and they re-recorded it with the classic lineup, they went out on tour and they only had 35 minutes of material, so they started the stuff from Overkill, so it was played live. And that's
Most of the stuff on their albums they've played live before they've recorded them.
Lemmy said he wishes they were able to do the same thing with the follow-up to it, Bomber, because he felt it needed that. And with Jimmy Miller, the producer, he did a lot of stuff from the Stones and Traffic and stuff, and his drug problem wasn't out of control.
Yeah.
So he had control with them, and that's why it's that album. And they felt that's why. Well, your next one that we're going to talk about, Bomber, failed a little bit because he was full on into heroin at the time, and it just wasn't working as well in the studio.
Yeah. And we'll get right into Bomber. Come out in October 1979. Another good album. Not as raw as Overkill. A little more polished, I would say. Not as out there as much. It doesn't grab you by the testicles as much as Overkill does. But there's still a lot of really good songs on that. And we'll get into it.
Stone Dead Forever, probably one of my favorite Motorhead tunes. Great tune. Dead Men Tell No Tales, which was their anti-heroin song, ironically enough.
Yes.
That they did. It's a bomber. It's in the set forever, and then they had that huge freaking plane that never made it to the States over the stage playing. And that's one thing I wish we got, but unfortunately we never did. And And one of my favorite stories behind the Bomber lighting rig is when they were playing Dresden. After they got done with Bomber, Lemmy yells out, "When's the last time you saw a bomber like this?" Which, if you know the history of Dresden during World War II, is like, ooh, wicked sense of humor.
So they were, yeah. when they firebombed the English firebombed the
For
city
3 days straight,
Yeah.
killing more people than Hiroshima.
Yeah.
Hey, what the hell?
Yeah, so really, I mean, great album.
Yeah, my favorite song off this one is Poison. The second I heard it, I thought that could be like a Kiss sounding song.
Only better.
Only not as
I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah.
I never thought of that like that.
I'm really hitting you between the No Class and now Poison. It's Kiss-ish.
I'm gonna have to give that another listen. That never dawned on me at all. Okay.
Crupper?
I don't want to be misunderstood tonight. There's no such thing as a bad Motorhead song. But after Overkill, I put this, and it was just like,
A little bit of a.
it's good. No, I'm not saying it's bad, but it's, like you said, it's just lacking something, I think.
Well, plus you don't have that surge too, that step up from the album before. I think it kind of plateaus.
Yeah. I mean, my favorite, I agree, Stone Dead Forever is probably my favorite off that. I mean, there's not a bad song, but
Right.
it not like Overkill. Overkill, like, yeah. And I put this, and it was like, it's like, yeah, but not, yeah. Did it have the,
BC gets like 1.5 fists in the
one
air.
and a half fist in the air for this one.
I enjoy the album. I thought it was good. Like we just discussed, it doesn't have that grab you thing, but there's still a lot of good songs on there, and they're songs that translate live. And Stone Dead Forever is great. I personally like Dead Men Tell No Tales the best on that. Sharpshooter really is a cool song, and then. The B-side, when they did use, back in the day when they used to do singles, the B-side for Bomber was a song called "Over the Top" that they've done live forever since then. That is a song that is just like fucking phenomenal. I mean, just
It's
excellent.
odd that the track song is the last song on the album. They usually
Right,
throw
yeah.
it, at least on the A side.
Right.
This one's the very last song on the album, which you don't see too often.
Right, and this is the first album that actually have the 3 band members' faces on the album, because you had the logo on the other ones, and you didn't see the guys on the album cover itself, but you could see those guys in the plane in the Bomber, and it's a cool ass cover too, fucking really cool cover, and I really think that's a good album.
Trivia, do you know the name of their logo and their mascot?
I do, but not off the top of my head.
Snaggletooth.
Snaggletooth. I know a couple of Snaggletooths.
Snaggletooth, Summer Teats.
Yeah. Summer here, summer there.
Let's focus on the music, people.
Yeah, but I mean, but there's still like back in the day, like here you are, you have, one album out in 77, boom. I mean, it took 2 years for Overkill to come out, but like not even 2 years, probably like a year and a half. But then you have they put out 2 albums in 1979, which if you want to count On Parole, which comes out next, which was that first album that they shelved, then they actually have 3 albums come out in 1979. So they decided to throw out the first album that was recorded that United Artists shelved. There's a couple repeat songs on there from the Motorhead album, but it's still good. Motorhead, Vibrator, Iron Horse, Born to Lose, they were songs that were on the other one, Lost Johnny. But there's also some other good songs on there. So these guys were just throwing stuff out there like crazy in the late 70s.
Absolutely. I mean, they're covering Motown on that album with Leaving Here, which is the Holland Dowsher, I can never pronounce the name, Holland songwriting crew that gave you all those Motown hits, and here's one on a Motorhead album. Like, who would have thunk it? But it goes back to what I said earlier. Their roots are not the roots that you would typically see. And I mean, it was originally going to be, the whole thing was to be produced by Dave Edmunds, who is a rockabilly type guy, and unfortunately, he only was able to do a handful of songs, and then I guess he got a better offer, so to speak. And then a couple months later, they came back with the replacement producer I don't have in front of me at the top of my head to finish the album off. So again, it's another one of those
Yeah, Fritz Fryer, the guy's
That's
name
what
was.
I'm talking about. It's another one of those discombobulated albums. Again, it's with Larry Wallace and Lucas Fox on it. It wasn't, Fast Eddie or Filthy Animal. And so it's just, they were just finding their way in the wilderness.
Yeah, and they said...
like cash grab by the record.
Oh, absolutely. And they said about Dave Edmunds, they said, Dave Edmunds and us got on okay. It was just the time he was negotiating a record deal or something for himself and was kind of preoccupied. These people kept arriving in big cars to talk to him. Most of the time his mind was elsewhere. So, the guy wasn't dedicated to the project. You can't keep someone around that's like that, Anything on Non-Parole, BC, BB?
No, I didn't check that one out.
Okay, yeah, well, because we're really mostly talking about the major albums that come out, so this was kind of, I think, like Jim said, just a money grab. Just throw it out there. Because they were selling a ton of shit, and they wanted just
They probably didn't see a penny
keep the
from
momentum
it.
going. Well, probably not. And, hopefully they were able to at least get something in the later years negotiated down the road. They put out an EP after that called The Golden Years. That one I myself am not really familiar with.
That's one you should look into. It's like I said, Leaving Here, which is the Motown tune, and then Stone Dead Forever, Dead Men Tell No Tales, and Too Late live.
They're all live?
They're live, recorded at the same time. If you have their No Sleep to Hammersmith, it's from the same recordings that Iron Fist was taken from. They were all on the Bomber tour. And it's one worth looking into.
Definitely have to check that out. Now we get to, what most people consider the quintessential Motorhead album, the Ace of Spades, which I will have to say of the classic stuff, it is my number one album. It starts out with Ace of Spades. I mean, it's a great album, and it's so consistent sounding, this album, and it's one song after another just punching you in the face, and it has my all-time favorite Motorhead song on there, Love Me Like a Reptile. It is like such a fucked up song. Like, you look at it, you're like, what the hell is this song going to sound like? But it's great. It's just the sound on the production on this album is just like phenomenal. And in the original album, 12 songs long, and just like it's just bang, song and song and song and song. But they're so good. And I got to say that after listening to all this, you're not really listening to Motorhead for the guitar solos, no. I would say, right? But then when you get listening to it, like Fast Eddie Clarke played some scorching shit on these albums, whether it be riffs or solos. And he said about his solos too that all he really cared about writing a guitar solo was that it had a good start that fit the song, and then it ended good. He said the middle, always takes care of itself. He said, but I always wanted to make sure I had a good start within the song, and then it ended and blended right back into the song. And he said the middle would take care of itself. And there's just some scorching fucking guitar playing on all the Fast Eddie Clarke stuff. I mean, on all the Motorhead stuff, but just on his on Fast Eddie Clarke stuff. And actually, Phil Taylor, after Eddie Clarke left the band, when Brian Robertson from Thin Lizzy came in, he used to get pissed at Brian Robertson because he couldn't play Eddie's solos the way that he felt that they should be played.
Well, Brian Robertson, they always said the problem was he didn't want to do the old Fast Eddie stuff. He didn't want any part of it. That was the whole thing. They got him because Phil Taylor was a huge Thin Lizzy fan. So they got him into the band, and it just was, they were button heads the whole time.
Not a good fit.
No, the between that and just the outfits he wore on stage, the pink hair.
Yeah, he was dressed like a
ballet dancer.
Yeah.
and he just didn't want to do
something.
the old stuff.
He was the
you got the leather jackets and biker jackets and shit, and then you got a guy in like fucking like tennis shorts up there. Just you're right, it didn't work. Ace of Spades, BB.
It's funny. I love the bass line, the beginning of "Live to Win," but then I love "Jailbait." How it's not so bassy at all. It's like a whole 360 to do from this album. You have your hit with Ace of Spades, but then it really shows what a variety they actually did as a band compared to like their first one when they were super bass heavy. They really evolved on this album, I thought.
again, Ace of Spades brought me back into the Motorhead, and this is their debut in the United States.
It's the first one I ever heard of in this.
It's the first time they came to the States also.
Came to the States also, but I mean, Ace of Spades, Love You Like a Reptile, again, some of my favorites. The Road Crew, Jailbait, but my favorite is the Chase is better than the catch.
Oh yeah. Good tune.
I mean, to me, I love that live. I mean, as soon as that comes out, it's like, yes.
And it just sounds like there was just a jam, and they took the best jam.
And they took the best jam. And so again, this brought me back up compared to Bomber, and I'm like, okay, here we go.
Yeah, it was great. And like you said, it was their first album released in the States, and their first tour when they for the States, they opened for Ozzy. After and it was kind of like the Ace of Spades tour, even though it was like they had No Sleep came out, but that was their big to do in the States, and it's the production came up around with the stage show. There was money being spent on the band. I mean, one of the things that made Motorhead so big in England, it was also marketing the way they did it. They would release an album, and then 2 weeks later, the same album comes out on colored vinyl. So the lunatic collectors like me have to go out and buy it on colored vinyl.
You gotta have them all.
And it keeps it going into the charts, which was pretty smart from them. They already had the placement, just throw a different plastic in there, get a different color. Boom, you got a collectible.
Definitely. And I think one of the really cool songs on there is "We Are the Road Crew." Very, very cool song. That BC, I'm surprised you didn't pick "Fire, Fire" as your favorite song.
Is there a bad one or is it Fire?
No, there's not. But the Chase is better than the Catch is a great song. And like I said, this was the first Motorhead album that came on my radar. I knew of it back in the day, but it wasn't something that, I don't know, for some reason, which another band, you're like, how the fuck did I not listen to these guys? Because there was so much other stuff
They're the
out
Ace
there.
of Spades band.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. There was just so much shit.
But look at the cover, too. The three guys looking like they wrote out of a Clint Eastwood movie. And it was done in like a garbage thing in London or outside of London. You'd think they were in the desert in the American Southwest, the way it looks. It's just it's just everything clicked on that album. Everything.
I think so. I think after Bomber came out, I think you got right back up to where Overkill was. I think you kind of had a little, like I said, they maybe plateaued or maybe went down a little bit, but then Ace of Spades was like right back there.
Got him right back up.
And right now, that is one of the most recognized, I won't call it metal because I don't consider them metal, We're Motorhead. We play rock and roll. It is one of the most recognizable hard rock songs out there.
And it's funny you talk about it. And Lemmy got sick of this song. It was one of those. It was like everybody knows Ace of Spades, Ace of Spades. He said some drunk was always screaming in his ear Ace of Spades, and it's like, but he knew he had to play it. Yep. And when we got to see him on the last tour, I'll never forget. There was a guy in the background, Ace of Spades, Ace of Spades.
Probably the first song.
No,
right?
And it was about 3/4 in the set when they finally got to it. Even Lemmy said, "Well, here's the song you all want to hear." And the guy had no reaction from him. It's like, really, you've been screaming this for the last 45 minutes, and you get the song.
He probably fucking went home after he played it.
That's Ace of Spades?
That's the same.
Oh, that's not the same one.
But you know what? It was probably the only song that he knew.
Yeah, and I feel sorry for the guy because
he's missing out on a lot of good shit.
Other ones.
I mean, Motorhead, like you said, we play rock and roll, but they're being labeled as an influence to like trash and speed metal, which
again,
in a way you can see it, but it's weird.
Again, if you have the time, go back to Gene Vincent, Eddie Cochran, their late 50s artists, and listen to them. And like I said, imagine that sound going through the Motorhead's backline, and you could see it. It was fast stuff. Yeah, it was played on an acoustic back in the 50s. Or the new electric guitars that they started coming out with, but it just works. You turn it up, you get that natural distortion, and you got Motorhead.
Yeah, I think it definitely worked. I love the album, and and even after we're done stuff getting ready for the show, there's still a bunch of songs that you'll go back to, because sometimes we'll do a show and I'm like, I'm just so sick of listening to whoever, and you do get kind of burned out. Because what I do really to prep for a show like this is when we decide to do it, maybe a week before, I'll hit the stuff heavy, and then I'll bring it down, and then the day of the show I won't listen to anything at all, and then I'll just let it flood back to me right before we get going again. And it's a way that I found after doing so many, the shows that we've done, just to not get totally burned out on the stuff that you're doing, because once you do that, I think it kind of comes through that you're just like, you just want to get it the fuck over with. Like you just want to get it and move on. But these guys are great. Like we did with the Deep Purple show. I'm still listening to that shit. It's just it's fucking amazing.
So what Motorhead out of these did you find yourself saying, I want to play that again? I know I have to listen to this, but I want to play that again.
I'm gonna say the album that we're gonna talk about next, live album, No Sleep Till Hammersmith. And actually, good segue. I'll segue right into that now. No Sleep Till Hammersmith live album, recorded, from the Overkill tour on.
Basically Iron Fist was from the Bomber tour, and then the rest of the album was taken basically mostly from Newcastle on March 29th of 81 on the Ace of Spades tour. They also recorded in Leeds, Belfast, and Norfolk. And it's just an ear bleed right from the beginning to the end. I mean, this is the quintessential album to buy. I think if you're looking to start with Motorhead, you start with this one, and then you work your way out in either direction. You either go older, you go newer, but this is the album, and it's just one of those. It's just, I'm getting goosebumps now just thinking about it. I love this album. I can't speak enough about it. There isn't a weak song on it. It's just pandemonium all the way through. I mean, what could I say?
Yeah, what I found weird, because this is actually the first time I listened to this live album. Out of the 11 songs on the album, he tells you what the song is 7 times. And that's
called good marketing.
I say it's like, so like they open up with Ace of Spades, and I don't think he says it with Stay Clean, but he goes, "This is Metropolis, this is Hammer, this is Iron Horse, this is No Class," and I'm like, it's just odd to hear something like that.
Well, that way you're not in the crowd going, I wonder what song this is.
What the fuck is he playing now?
But at least, though, it's not a 5-minute dissertation about the song, or
getting a political
Now
rant
I know
like
you
10.
people want to listen to this song.
Exactly.
You don't get that, but you gotta remember too, though, all those shows, that wasn't one concert either.
Oh, it was like 4 nights, right?
So it was like different shows that different songs were from. So. A lot of them were from Newcastle, probably the lion's share of them.
Yeah.
But there are other shows. But you got to figure too, that's probably not the whole set list either. So I'm sure there were songs played on that tour that weren't on this album too. So you may have, this is Stay Clean, and then maybe 2 songs, and then Metropolis, and then what I mean. So it's not a cohesive like one show type album.
Yeah.
First of all, I love live music. I wish everybody put live albums up, but they don't. Like Steve said, this is the best. But you know what? Lemmy does the talk between songs. Like, I wrote this song while I was sitting in a chair, and
you don't need
because
that.
what they play rock and roll.
They do.
And he
Like the Ramones. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bang.
Yeah, bang, like straightforward. I mean, and to me, that's what Motorhead really stands out. It's just straightforward. There's no fancy shit. There's no, I don't know what
You get what you came for.
There's nothing added to it.
Yeah.
It's not watered down at all.
Not watered down at all, and bam, and like you said, there's not a bad song on this album.
Motorhead, especially, there's only one other band that was like them at that time, and that would have been AC/DC with Bond. It was the same thing if you ever listened to their stuff, live, bootlegs, or whatever. There wasn't a lot of chat in between. It was like, here's another one right in your face. And they're both have in common is both their backlines would probably kill a mere mortal with just the volume that they played on stage. I mean, Motorhead was clocked at 120 dB just coming from their backline. And AC/DC had the problem out in Detroit where they were told they were playing too loud, and they pulled the faders down completely on the soundboard. And the guy said, "You're still too loud." I said, "No, I can do it. That's them on stage." They got their hands dirty, and they just did it. Straight line from the guitar to the amp, bang.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to say this is one loud, rude fucking album. It is just like from beginning to end.
It's not a makeout album.
It is not. It starts to punch you in the face and does not let up until the end. And one thing that I was thinking about too, and actually I'm looking at the song titles, and I'm looking right now at the time of the songs. The longest song is like 5 minutes and 13 seconds.
Yeah, there's no free
But they're they're all like 3 minute, 2 minute, 2.5 minute songs. They're not long songs, so they're in and they're out quick. And you just you go see a band like that. That's why bands like this can play like 20 or 30 songs in a concert, because you don't have the guitar solos and and don't get me wrong, I love like bands like Iron Maiden that have epic songs that can stretch a song out. Songs like Do You Feel Like We Do, that's like 13 minutes long, and some of the Zeppelin stuff that's really crazy long. But this is a refreshing live album to listen to. There's no crowd participation songs. No, okay. I say B, you say C, that kind of shit, You don't have that with Motorhead. They're talking with their music, and they're short and concise songs, and they just punch you in the face, and they just keep fucking pummeling you as the night goes on.
It's like going against Mike Tyson. And again, it goes back to their roots. Look at the songs out of the 50s. They were 2.5 minutes long. That's Lemmy. That's what he liked.
Yeah, and even a lot of the live stuff that you'll see, I personally do like when a band will extend a song musically, like with an extended guitar solo in the song. But even with this stuff, you don't get that. You get the stock solo. I mean, I'm sure they're not note for note. It's Motorhead. They're not going to do shit note for note, especially guitar solos. But
not going to worry about the tuning.
Yeah. So I mean, you just have that guts of the song, and it just goes through, and it just keeps hitting you, and it's song, bang. This is Metropolis, bang, song, boom. This is a hammer. But like you don't have the long talking in between. You don't have the long elongated songs.
There's
it's
no
just
piss breaks.
Pummels the fuck out of you. Yeah. That's one of Motorhead. So
people
walk out there
it'd be
with
like
piss
it's like I think Jim Brewer, he goes to see Metallica. He wears like the pencil. He doesn't have to leave to take a piss, which is a little weird. But
well, maybe you're into it. It's Baby Man.
But like these guys, they just pummel you. BC and Jim, you got to see them on the last tour. Tell us about that, since we're talking about them live.
That was just a wonderful, great day. I made the suggestion. You guys, I'm so thrilled you went along with it. I said, let's pretend we're in junior high again, and let's go down and stand outside of the show, wait in line to get in so we get right into the barrier. So we got there about 3:30 in the afternoon. We were second or third in line at the doors at the Tower Theater in Philly, a sacred place to me, Philly, that Tower Theater, because that's where Live and Dangerous was recorded. So here I'm going to be in that building seeing Motorhead. And we waited, and then we got in right next to the barrier, and it was just a killer night that whole night. I mean, Lemmy, you could tell Lemmy, looking at it, he was sick.
He was, yeah.
But, Phil Campbell took some of the frontman duties to give Lemmy a break. So, he said, try to get the crowd to yell, the stuff like that. You had a drum solo, you had a guitar solo. I believe it was so they were checking Lemmy's sugar to make sure everything was good. He just went backstage behind the amp, sat on a stool, took a breather, and
come back out. But like you said, you could tell something was not. He wasn't 100% that night. God love him.
Yeah, I can't watch their last release, the video "Clean Your Clock." I can't watch it. I can't. I start crying.
He looks like he's gonna fucking.
He looks like they're ready. The casket is waiting.
Yeah,
but he still was out there
behind the curtain. Yeah, I mean that was a great show. Like you said, Phil Campbell stepped up, and Mickey D is just a phenomenal drummer in my book, and they stepped up. And Lemmy, he still played. He came out. We play rock and roll. I mean, and they did.
And as sick as he was, he still stood outside with the crowd.
Remember the good fight we got into?
Yes. Yeah. Well, that was just uncalled for. That guy was just totally out of hand.
Oh, yeah, he was out of hand.
That poor girl.
That poor girl, yeah.
BCU chivalrous bastard, you.
We didn't lose our spot in the front. Fuck that. This is Motorhead. Just kicked him in the...
Somebody grabbed him. The next time I'm over, I'm like trying to pull him up over the crowd, like...
That was a good time.
BC's motioning, punching someone in the face.
Yeah, exactly.
In case you want to visit.
That was the day I wish I wore my steel toes, because he shouldn't have been God. And then that poor girl sitting there crying, trying to just watch the show, keeping her clothes on.
There's always got to be some fucking jackass.
Yeah, but it's got to be by me.
Hey, it's usually me. They usually seek me out.
He's usually the jackass magnet.
So you had to step up for me that night, because I was working that night, so that's why I didn't go.
You know how many times you left him behind when?
Oh yeah.
We see somebody going towards Steve.
They fucking walk by me like they don't even know me.
I just remember
Even
when,
my own son did that to me several times.
New Jersey.
He just did it to me at M3 2 years ago.
Was it New Jersey?
Yeah, with the guy at the Wizard.
The Wizard outfit. Yeah. We can walk around
It was at the Judas Priest show.
Yeah. The Wizard outfit. We're like, okay.
We know exactly where that jackass is going. Into Steve. Hey, buddy.
We just walked by.
Hey, buddy, where's he going to show?
And my eyes are following them, and they're saying, "Fuck all you guys!" Is this guys?
We heard it.
We had to go to the bathroom. We couldn't hold
Oh
it.
yeah. Well, I already went to the bathroom.
But
You guys
where?
must have stayed in there.
But where the
doing
fuck
whatever.
is a guy dressed as a wizard at a Judas Priest? I don't see the.
well, I
tie.
guess it was Sabbath and the wizard walked by.
Yeah, it was.
It was weird. It was just very weird.
But that though was one of the great shows. After that show, I had my hearing tested.
What?
75% hearing loss in this ear because of that stack. Yeah, baby, bring it on.
That was like that was a funny show. Like you said, we got there early. We
hung out.
We had Subway in the parking, like the parking area. We parked in like a strip mall parking lot up the road from the place. We parked there and we said walked down and
Just
stood in line, bullshit with people. It was-
made some friends, watched somebody get hit by a bus. It was a complete thing.
Somebody hit by a bus, yeah. It's
Hey.
typical Philadelphia, but and then we got in, and then like you said, the show was great, and
all three bands.
It had a little bit of everything.
The mosh pit wasn't too bad because we were against the barrier, so they were behind us. And everybody had a good
Masha
time.
was behind us, so
That's good.
future thought.
Yeah.
Make sure you're at
Sometimes
the
you get caught up in that, and you're.
Well, Anthrax was there, so we didn't get caught in the mosh.
Allentown.
It sucks because Dylan and I went to see the Foo Fighters, and
Yeah, you know
a fucking pit breaks out
Foo Fighters.
at a Foo Fighters show, like right next to us.
Didn't the
and-
soccer moms stop it?
No, they were up in the seats. We were like right up front there. And the next thing I knew, I was on my ass. I was like, "What the fuck?" I just got fucking pummeled. I mean, I got my
Did
revenge.
they make a shirt? Like I got
I got
moshed
I got mosh pitted at
No,
Foo
no.
Fighters.
But like, it is fucked up when you get caught.
No,
up in that
I
shit.
mean,
I never understood it, but the kids
Mosh
today like
Pit
it.
and Foo Fighters.
I know. And Dylan could tell you what song it was, and he's like, "This is like the most non-moshable Foo Fighters song." I don't know that there actually is a moshable
Foo Fighters.
song, but he said it was like one of the least
Well,
ones.
I'm not a fan of the mosh pit. I am a fan of the energy.
Yes.
And that's what I like live. You get and Motorhead, even though he was
What was
literally
that?
on his last breath.
What was that show we went to downtown? Testament? Was it Testament? No, not Exorcist.
Exodus.
Ecstasy? I think he took some.
Oh no, that was at the cultural center. Was
No, the Croc Rock. That night we were down there. Remember the pit
was Anthrax.
going? Was it Anthrax? Who else?
And Anthrax, Testament, and Death Angel.
Death it? Was it?
Death Angel, yeah.
And like this huge pit gets out in front of us. I'm like, oh yes! But I wanted to, but I did, and I was like, no, I'll come out with a broken leg or something.
I know.
And then I wanted to get in it, and I look back now and said, fuck, you should have
I know. We should have just taken one trip around.
one trip around, at least one trip around.
Once around the ride.
But like I look at it, I get the energy. It's just not for me. And it's like listening to a lot of these Cookie Monster bands. I can't listen to their CD, but I can watch them live because the energy, and especially if they're got a good sense of humor about them. Like I just saw recently Dead by Wednesday. I won't buy one of their CDs because what the fuck? But live they were fun, and it was like I can enjoy this. I was talking to the singer. I said I'll come back and see you guys anytime.
All right. Boom. They get done. They put that album out after the Ace of Spades tour. They go back in the studio, totally unprepared. None of these songs they didn't get to play live. Any of these songs at all. Iron Fist comes out. They started recording with where's the guy's name here?
Will Reed.
Will Reed Dick, and apparently he
Evil.
didn't do Dick.
Well, they started with Vic McHale, the guy who produced their other ones, but for some reason it didn't work out. And Eddie had
Well,
just
Phil
done
Taylor wouldn't work with him.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
There was the
There was a conflict.
battle.
Yeah.
There's a
Eddie had
constant
just
battle.
done Tank, and so why don't you produce it? And he said, I didn't want to, but I don't mean to jump out of turn, but it's just
No.
It's just you listen to it, it's just like. But like Lemmy said, you got a number one album. There's nowhere to go but down. You can't follow a number one live album with another live album, although I would have bought it. But there's nowhere to go but down. And he felt that was where the seeds of Eddie's discontent was with that. It didn't do as well as Hammersmith. He was hanging around with Will Reed, venting with him, and I guess he was enabling him that, well, they don't need you. You're better than them. You can produce. You're bigger than Motorhead. You're gonna. Whereas Lemmy said if he wasn't hanging there, we could have worked out the problems. He went outside and somebody just, whatever. It's a decent album.
Yes.
There's some really good stuff on there.
I remember just I was talking to somebody online about albums, and they said, give it a listen again. You'll be pleasantly surprised. And I did, and I have to say, I was pleasantly surprised. America is a great tune. Iron Fist, obviously. Again, after you come off of the bang, bang, bang of No Sleep and Ace of Spades, and this is just like...
We're back on that plateau again.
Yeah, I agree with the plateau thing. I mean, here we are in the live, and to me, so far, the first 5 has been up and down, up and down. Mm-hmm. And like you said, there was a lot of turmoil going on within the band at this time, and in a way it shows. But I mean, like you said, it's still a good album. Just that it did it.
Yeah, it just they needed and that was their.
No, it was.
Yeah, they kind of.
I mean, Iron Fist, even Go to Hell a little bit. I mean.
Yeah, I think the only one I liked was Remember Me, I'm Gone. I think that's the very last song. Or
it was like a B-side.
Yeah,
it wasn't an actual. It wasn't an actual album song. It was a B-side.
Yeah, that was from the reissue from 1996. That one and Bang the Rights. That's what it is.
Bang the Rights is really good. I enjoyed it. Like you said, it wasn't as in your face. In the other one, it was produced a little dry, I think. Maybe.
Yeah.
Good nonetheless. There's a lot of really good guitar solos on the songs in here, even if the songs aren't that great. Listen to the solos in them. I really like I'm the Doctor, and I really like Don't Need Religion. I mean, very, very cool groove to those songs. And Don't Let Them Grind You Down, I think, is another very underrated Motorhead song, and I enjoy it. And like Jim said before, this is when the discontent and the turmoil started to creep into the Motorhead camp. And, I think probably at this point, everyone's egos were probably... you get the sycophants out there, and everyone's like telling everyone else that you're the best guy in the band. You should be doing this. You should be doing that. And then and then you get the conflict, and then they were really drinking heavily.
They always drank heavily.
They did. But now
there's nothing wrong with that.
That's right.
No.
BC could have been the 5th member or 4th member.
That's right. But now it's really starting to grind. We're starting to see where Fast Eddie Clarke is coming to the end of his string, and
they only played 2 dates, one in Canada, one in the States, and before that they did that whole opening for Ozzy and on the Ace of Spades tour in May of '81. And I always liked the story when Rudy Sarzo asked Randy about when he just joined the band. He said, yeah, we're going to tour and Motorhead's open up. And Rudy said, never heard of him. And he said, oh, you will. And so will everybody within 20 miles of the gig. And I thought that was a great thing. And when they're opening for Ozzy and they're doing okay, then they go back to England to headline a festival. They headlined over Triumph, Frank Marino, Mahogany Rush, and Ozzy. It just shows you how the flip-flop was. Like
between
Ozzy,
the States and the UK.
Yeah, Motorhead was so huge. And I think coming and having to start out opening and doing this, that might also have been disenchanting for the guys. And
right, they were at the top of the world, in the UK. They come to the States. They're literally just another opening band.
Yep.
Like the ego, and that had to, like you were right, that had to be a kind of a blow to their ego too, like starting over again. And then if you say you flip flop it, they go back over to the UK, and Ozzy's opening up for them, and Ozzy is really an upstart.
And he never really took off except in the States.
Yeah,
I mean around Europe and wherever. Okay, he's Ozzy. He's still. During his solo years, he still was like the former singer of Black Sabbath.
Yep.
Where in the States he was Ozzy,
Mm-hmm.
Right, and I mean that shows you even with Black Sabbath, just the influence back and forth, and Ozzy will rightfully so always be considered the singer in Black Sabbath, even though I enjoy Dio and Tony Martin better myself. that's a whole nother batch of shows actually. Yeah.
I think the neighbors want to listen to Born Again tomorrow.
They could. I wish they would go in and re-release that and
I would love
tighten
to
that
hear the
production
original mix, because the story goes is Ian Gillan loved it, thought it was the best thing, and then when he heard the final mix, he was so disgusted with it, he threw it out of the car when he was driving home. He couldn't even listen to it.
It's a terrible production, but there's a lot of really good shit on there. Yeah, so the discontent's starting, and then it really comes to a head when they want to record the country staple "Stand By Your Man."
And the Blues Brother classic.
Yeah.
By your man.
Stand By Your Man. Oh, I forgot about that. With Wendy O. Williams. I don't know if anybody out there has heard it. I know we talked about it at the table here a little bit before we started
Make it your
recording.
ringtone. They'll love you.
Yeah, it is absolutely fucking horrible. And Eddie Clark wanted no part of this at all. And they were recording it, and he said, "Fuck off! I'm not recording." Like, he recorded the rhythm tracks for it, and they wanted him to do the solos and stuff. And he's like, "Fuck you guys! I don't want any part of this song." And then he said, "I quit." And then they had guys go with them, and then they got back on the bus, and then they played a show. They played 2 shows, and then there was a big party, and he had to. Fast Eddie Clark pretty much had to be escorted into like a Motorhead party. And he said, guys, let's work this out. And Lemmy's like, "No, fuck you, you're out."
Yeah, the last show was at the Palladium in New York City, 82. They did the show, and here's another thing. Here they are in Toronto, headlining at Maple Leaf Gardens, which is a 17,000-seat venue, and they come across the border in the States, and they're headlining the Palladium, which is a 4,000-seat venue. Again, more discontent. And the whole Stand By Your Man, they tried to copy the success they had with the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, the EP that they did with Girls' School, which is a phenomenal EP. I don't know if you've had a chance to listen to it.
That I didn't get a chance to listen to.
Take the time, listen to it. There's 3 songs on it. They do a Girls' School song, Emergency, which Eddie sings, and it sounds really good. Another rockabilly classic, can't think of the title off my head, but I know I have it written down. Please Don't Touch, which was originally done by Johnny Kidd and the Pirates, which is another. Like I said, we keep going back to Lemmy's influences. Fantastic. He does a duet with Kim from Girls' School, and then Girls' School covers Bomber. If you could find it, look for it. That would be like you have your hidden gems.
What's it called again?
The St. Valentine's Day Massacre. Look it up. Please Don't Touch and Emergency.
3 songs on it.
There you go. It came out as a 10-inch EP. And I believe it's on one of the reissues. It's tagged on there. But like I said, I hate to keep throwing things around.
No. That's what we're here for. With the more information we can give, and it is cool. Just to know that there's other stuff out there also, other than just the staples of the Motorhead stuff we're talking about. That they were branching out, doing a couple little different things. Even though the Wendy Williams thing is
that they tried them and
terrible. It's horrible.
Do you remember when she played the West Side Theater?
Yep.
Yes, I do. Now that you say that.
Were you there?
No,
I was not there either.
I was not there.
Yeah, I don't know. I was never a really big fan of her, but they do say the one album that she did is pretty much a Kiss album.
Yes. Didn't Gene was involved with her?
Gene was involved.
Gene was involved with it. I know Eric Carr played a lot of shit on there.
I'm drawing a blank on what's called.
You Kiss guys out there, remind us of what the fuck that is. And I didn't even think of that at all until Jim just brought it up.
Like you said, when all the shit went down and I'm out of the band, fuck, and then let's get this together. And Lemmy says, "No, you're out." That's the way Lemmy was. Lemmy was no bullshit.
Yeah, they said he was one of the straightest shooters that you would, whatever, and very, very well read, very intelligent. Yes. He had a massive German, Nazi World War II collection. He was one of the biggest collectors, I would say, that was probably in the United States once he moved here. And
he got a lot of flack for that. He wasn't a Nazi. He just thought the stuff looked cool.
He thought it was cool stuff. And he never bought a house. He till the day he died.
He had the apartment.
He was in his apartment.
That's awesome.
It's just crazy, And they say you would go to the Rainbow.
No matter how big he got,
be there.
He stayed.
Yeah. And he never drove. He never drove.
Ready?
You go back to, again, like you said, his love of history. And they were doing a festival over in Germany. And it was in Nuremberg. And it was where Hitler used to hold all his rallies. And if you ever seen Triumph of the Will, that Nazi propaganda film, it was filmed in that stadium. And when they were playing the gig, Twisted Sister was on the bill. And J.J. French was freaked out over it due to his Jewish heritage. He's like, oh my God, this is Hitler. The whole 9 yards. Lemmy, said, just stand by the stage and when I'm playing, and don't worry, just stand by the stage. So they come out, they do their first song, and then Lemmy says, let me hear you yell. And the crowd yells, and he goes, you yelled louder in 36, and just looked at JJ and smiled.
That's fucked up.
Yeah.
Eddie's out, so that like pretty much breaks up the the original, the classic era of Motorhead. I think that really Fast Eddie Clarke was the only one to come out and do something else after his time in Motorhead. So let's talk a little Fastway, guys, since we're all in the same room here. Like we said at the beginning of the show, Jim and I actually got to see these guys live open up for Iron Maiden.
Yes, indeed.
In Allentown, or as David King thought, Alan Wood. Right?
Yep.
That was another album that I listened to. The first time I heard them was on Metal Shop. The only show with teeth. And it was cool. It was like, I think they probably played either Say What You Will or Easy Livin'. I want to say Easy Livin' was probably the first one that they played on there. And I was like, these guys are good. And for how much Motorhead was not on my radar at all, I had no idea who Fast Eddie Clarke was. No idea at all. No idea who Jerry Shirley was. No idea that
I hope you do know.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
That Pete Way was the Way in Fastway. That never even played a note with them.
Never played a note with him.
Couldn't get out of his contract.
Yeah, he was still in his contract with UFO.
But you ever hear Wasted?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, that to
Open for
me,
Maiden.
Wasted was great.
Johnny D even played
Johnny D.
Wasted.
What's your thoughts on Fastway, BB? Actually, not to interrupt you before you even start fucking talking, but Fastway was one of your hidden gems episodes ago.
That's right. It's funny. I didn't learn of Fastway till 1986 for Waiting for the Roar came out. My buddy from York, Pennsylvania, he came out to visit his grandmother, and I used to hang out with him every once in a while in the summertime. He's like, hey, did you ever hear of this Fastway band?
She said that or he said that?
He.
That's what she said.
And from there, I'm like, wow, these guys are good. And I'd never heard of them around here. At that time, I was only listening to KRZ. They didn't play them.
Oh, you poor
Fuck
bastard.
no.
You poor bastard.
And even Rock 107 wasn't playing. The only
nobody was
time they
playing
played them was on Metal Shop.
Yeah. So I was kind of late. with these guys. But then moving back towards their catalog, fucking amazing.
I mean, the first time I heard these guys, I was at a birthday party, and
Yeah, okay. After the Escapades show.
birthday party after Escapades, and like I said, I mean, it's like, yeah, I mean, I know when I first heard Fastway,
Something that immediately catches your ear.
catches my ear, like Easy Living, and back in the day, I always used to tell every girl I met me, feel me, touch me. I got slapped a few times, but I mean,
He's still trying it.
It doesn't work on me, pal.
Say What You Will to me is a phenomenal song. There's not, I mean, I love this album. I love the feel, and like you said, it grabs you as soon as you throw it on. It's like,
Who produced it? I can't remember. I didn't write that down.
It's
Eddie Kramer.
Eddie Kramer.
That's
yeah,
what I
Eddie
thought.
Kramer.
That's what I remember.
So how could you go wrong? Eddie Kramer.
I remember the first time I heard about them. I always consider myself an American with a British soul because I always listened to that side of the pond. I like the LA metal scene was like, it wasn't for me. Whereas I wrote more into the British stuff, and so I read the British music press whenever I can get. And I remember seeing the picture of Eddie Kramer now sitting with Fast Eddie in the studio when they were talking about the album, and they had Jerry Shirley from Humble Pie on drums, because the story was when him and Pete Way were talking, they said they both love Rockin' the Fillmore by Humble Pie. Excellent album, a must for anyone.
Very good.
And they said, we need somebody like that. And they said, why don't we see if Jerry Shirley is available? They went, and he was available.
He was painting.
And so they
Not paintings, painting houses.
yeah, he joined them,
They had a session musician by the name of Mickey Feet played bass on it, although he wasn't credited. They did the album, and when they were cutting the single, the guy who was mastering it said, "Say what you will, this is a great song." And they said, "That's the B-side. No, that should be the A-side." But luckily, somebody flipped it, and it took off from there. They got Charlie McCracken, who played in Taste with your favorite Rory Gallagher.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and on the band. And then, lo and behold, they opened up for Maiden with Coney Hatch down in Allentown, and they were fantastic.
It was great. And I got to say, Jim, you saying about liking the British things, I'm sort of busting your balls, but I think it's actually true that, as we stated in the first episode you're on, you are a couple years older than us guys, and I think that's kind of an age thing, too, because go back into the late 70s before the
new wave of
British heavy metal hit. But like that's what it was. It was British heavy metal. It wasn't American heavy metal. You had Metallica out in their infancy, Megadeth a couple years later, but there really wasn't that really hard and heavy rock at the time.
No, it was all lightweight.
And that's Metallica considers themselves a product of the new wave of heavy British heavy metal.
I myself consider Metallica a Jersey band. Because if you look at their history, they didn't do well in LA. They didn't do too good in San Francisco. They had to come out to Jersey to break. And it just seemed to be more of that, again, the British influence coming across. And it just started...
And the East Coast of the United States is a little closer to England than
a little bit
Los Angeles. And they had to open for the Rods.
Yeah.
Our buddy Carl Kennedy and gang. But... I really, like I said, I heard either Easy Living or Say What You Will on Metal Shop. But once I got the album, it's a great album. It's produced great, and like I said, I had no idea who Fast Eddie Clarke was, no idea who Jerry Shirley was. David King was an unknown guy, and they're the only guy. Like you said, the bass player is uncredited. They're the only three guys you see on the album. Getting to see them live was fantastic. But back to the album, like We Become One is like a fucking phenomenal song. Yes. Even though the song Half This is like a slower melody, like there's such a grind and a groove in that song that is just phenomenal. And
Far Away from
Home.
But
it is not even close to any kind of Motorhead type sound at all.
It is closer to a Humble Pie sound, especially when you listen to like did you happen to buy the album when it first came out and you had the Extra 45 in it?
Yeah.
Far From Home on it?
Yes.
And you hear it, and you can hear the Humble Pie influence on that. You can almost see where David King is channeling his Steve Marriott for that. And the story goes is, I guess, on one of the earlier tours, Dave King was backstage at a Motorhead show getting Eddie's autograph, but Eddie was just too messed up to remember it.
Really? Yeah, but think of how many autographs he probably gave. So he's just another guy backstage. But it's a fantastic album. They followed it up with All Fired Up, and I got to say, BB, it's kind of weird that your first experience with Fastway is Waiting for the Roar. I've never even seen that album.
Didn't they do the Trick or Treat soundtrack before that?
That was right. That was after it. They did Waiting for the Roar in '85, and then Trick or Treat, which is fucking phenomenal. Came out in '86. But like, I've never even. I don't think I've ever even seen a picture of Waiting for the Roar.
I've never cassette of it. It was a copied cassette of it.
I never
got a pirate copy. That's killing music, young man.
If you get on iTunes or on Amazon Music, the other albums are there. Fastway albums on there, All Fired Up's on there, Trick or Treat's on there, and then there's a couple newer ones that are on there. But I don't think I've ever even seen a picture of Waiting for the Roar, and that's not one that is available via any of the streaming stuff.
Look at that.
See?
How about look at you?
Wow.
I wish I knew then what I know now.
See?
But just a great band, and they kind of just missed.
Yeah,
I think
they weren't metal enough for the new wave of British heavy metal. They weren't glam enough for the LA metal scene,
and they didn't have a stick.
They were just a good rock and roll band.
You know what I mean? They didn't have a gimmick or anything like that. Like real good rock and roll band, just nothing too flashy, but like good music. And even All Fired Up is a fucking phenomenal album. It's great.
I was lucky to see him twice on the first tour. Opening for Maiden, and then opening for AC/DC in December of that year down at the Spectrum.
What tour was that, the AC/DC one?
Flick of the Switch.
Flick of the Switch.
They opened for Flick of the Switch. And then they opened again in Europe in '86, probably the album you're referring to over in Europe, in England.
And that's
Well,
when they
or if
added-
'86, it might have been Trick or Treat too.
They added synthesizers with that.
Oh, that's just sad.
You could throw that on.
Yeah, BC was always. I mean, I love it, but I think BC is like really in love with that album. Because whenever we talk about Fastway, I'm always talking about the first album. BC's like, well, Trick or Treat.
I'm gonna have to look into that.
Seriously,
Sell me on it.
pick it up.
All right, BC, you're a door-to-door salesman, and you want
Knock on my door.
and you want Jim
Trick or
to-
treat.
You want Jim to buy the Trick or Treat album.
Yeah, I want to buy the Trick or Treat album.
This is BC.
Without pulling it up in front of me right now.
Sure, you're not here trying to sell me some encyclopedias?
No. I mean, that's a song you can throw it on. You want the neighbors to hear it. They're going to hear it. Their great grandparents are going to hear it. That's that kind of album. You turn it up and it's
I'm gonna look for it,
look for it.
and I'm gonna find it. And if
There
I
you
don't
go.
like it, you
There's the
think
track
that-
listing for you, BC.
Don't Stop the Fight, After Midnight, Trick or Treat, Tear Down the Walls, Tear Down. I mean, seriously, if you listen to this,
All right, I will look for it.
if you come back to me and say, you know what, I didn't like it, I'd be like,
Who are you? What have you done with Jim?
the aliens got Jim.
You look for the pod in the corner
Get Tough.
because you know I'm always
Even,
cruising these
the-
record
the-
stores and record shows.
The slowest song on the album, I think, if you can see, if you can,
But it's good though.
it's good. It's just
Yeah.
got a groove to it.
I mean, the
No, I
movie
think
kind of
have to do
sucked.
this.
Actually, Gene Simmons is in that movie.
You have to do
Ozzy-
this via
Gene Simmons,
Skype so we
Ozzy.
could just watch him as he's talking about this. The people listening to this just don't get it.
It's all about the
I know.
pictures.
We're not that advanced to have a video podcast.
We will graduate.
You have
one day,
the
that's-
Northeast PA version of that metal show.
But good stuff. And
Anybody out there, pick it up and tell me you don't like
right, but I don't really, Jim, and you're our resident Motorhead guy here. I don't think really anyone else in Motorhead.
Well, there wasn't anybody that really left other than when Pete Gill joined for No Remorse and Orgasmatron. He was from Saxon, obviously. And then after that, I don't believe he did anything. The last I heard, as a matter of fact, I was just reading a conversation online. I guess he's had some heart troubles, and he does a lot of stuff for over in Europe and their version of the American Heart Association and stuff like that. I've also heard some other things I won't say because I don't know a fact about it. But so he left. Wurzel was in the band. He left. I don't think he did anything after that. Unfortunately, he has passed away. And then it was just Phil Campbell who joined after Brian Robertson was with him to the end. Phil Taylor basically retired, replaced by Mickey D.
But he left and came back.
He left and came back because he was always going again. He felt after a while he wanted to do something more musical because he felt Motorhead wasn't musical enough. He worshipped Thin Lizzy, and Lemmy said he had an opportunity to get Brian Downey. Said, I'd love to join Motorhead when Thin Lizzy was done, but they already had Pete Gill, and he said, boy, if I got Brian Downey in there, I would write to Filthy about it. And he just, afterwards, he just retired and just, enjoyed whatever royalties he had, and nobody really did anything except for, like you said, Fast Eddie. That was it.
And one of Fast Eddie's things was, too, that he always kind of felt downgraded that they weren't considered good musicians. But listen to his playing on these albums. He fucking tears it up.
All of them are fantastic.
They're just, they
They're
were
very
the right
unorthodox.
guys at the right time.
Yeah, they're the right three guys to make that noise.
Yep, absolutely. Thank God Lemmy kept it going. 22 albums. How many bands are 1 and outs, 2 and outs, 3 and outs? But even bands that are around as long don't have that many albums.
And I know a lot of people consider this the classic Motorhead lineup. Lemmy said, have you listened to us lately? They were a slamming band.
Oh, absolutely.
They were fantastic.
And the reason why we're doing just this is because there's such a huge scope of Motorhead that we wouldn't be doing them any justice at all to cover the whole career of Motorhead
That'll be the director's cut edition of this episode.
in one show. I think we would be doing them and any Motorhead fans out there a disservice if we were to just breeze through. Okay, they put out Orgasmatron, then they put out Blah, then they put out Blah, and not to really give the albums and the lineups that they had up until when they had Mickey D and Phil Campbell, and then that was it for forever after that.
But I will say one thing. Their last album, Bad Magic,
Is fucking
they
phenomenal.
went out with a bang.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. If you're a band and you are going
That's
to
the
have
way you
a
wanna do
last
it.
album, do it. And I feel the same way about Infinite that Deep Purple just put out, if that's going to be their last album, I would be like,
Fine.
that was a great way to go the fuck out. But like you said, Bad Magic, we'll do that like way down the road. But it is phenomenal. If you guys want to hear just phenomenal Motorhead, pick up Bad Magic. I love Firestorm Hotel on that fucking album. It is phenomenal. But there's not even close to being a skippable song on that album.
Nope.
None.
Nope. And listen to it in the winter because your lawn will die.
Yeah. Or just put your headphones on and listen to it while you're watering your lawn. You can counteract it. Besides that, once the first one of the classic guys to pass away was Phil "Filthy Animal" Taylor. He died in November 11th, 2015. He was 61. We talked about Lemmy passing away a little bit. 4 days after his 70th birthday, he was born, I believe, on Christmas Eve, and he passed away December 28th, 2015. He was 70. And Fast Eddie Clark just passed away in January of this year, of 2018, January 10th. He was 67. So he was like the final guy of the first core of Motorhead to pass away. So they're all gone now. So. You guys get out there, give it your little, I'm not saying build a shrine in your fucking house and light candles and shit.
Why not?
You can if you want to. If it's what you
They're
want to do.
scented candles, don't judge.
Replace your Kurt Cobain picture with a picture of fucking Lemmy.
I never had a Kurt Cobain picture.
I actually had a tenant that had a Kurt Cobain shrine.
Did you put a shotgun shell next to it?
No, I did not.
Who's that? Oh, okay.
You noticed.
Okay.
Which, hey, to each his own.
Yeah.
But these guys were just a fantastic band. Mickey D right now, who was the last drummer, and actually he was the drummer in King Diamond before he joined Motorhead. Phenomenal kick-ass drummer. BC talked about him. Just watch some of the Motorhead live stuff, and he just is like a fucking unbelievable drummer. And
not a bad guitar player either.
Oh, really? I've never even...
He would come out and play acoustic with the bass drum, kicking on the bass drum and playing some acoustic.
I have seen that. Now that you say that.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I've been thinking you're thinking shredding.
No.
Phenomenal drummer. He's in the, like I said, he's in the Scorpions now. And Phil Campbell, he has a band now called Phil Campbell and the Bastard Sons.
His wife don't like that name.
Huh?
Don't like that name?
I'm sure she doesn't.
No, she said we've been married 25 years. They're not bastards, and so she's upset. But then again, that was the original name of Motorhead, Bastard.
Yeah.
And somebody talked to him. I said, "You can't get on the top of pops with that." So he said, "All right, we'll go with Motorhead."
He plays his son Todd is a rhythm guitar player. His son Dane is the drummer. His son Tyler is the bass player. And they have a singer. His name is Neil Starr, which I know you guys listened to the album briefly, but I actually listened to this album like maybe 4 or 5 times, like good with the headphones on. It's a phenomenal fucking slamming album.
It has. I only listened to it briefly.
It's got like a little punk element to it, I think. It's great.
An overall good feel.
It's like the Motorhead stuff, but it's not Motorhead-like.
No, it's not.
But it's Motorhead
attitude,
consistency. Has the attitude, the consistency of the songs. There's one a little slower song on there. It's bluesy. It's called "Dark Days" that is really good. I don't know if anybody out there, or even if you guys are familiar with the band called Danko Jones.
Yeah.
They're a Canadian band, and they're really, really good. And when the first time I listened to this, and I'm like, holy fuck! I'm like, is that the singer from Danko Jones? There's like, it's either the first song Ringleader or the second song Freak Show. He sounds exactly like the fucking guy in Danko Jones. I'm like, and I had to look it up. It's not the guy from Danko Jones.
How can you not love a band called Danko Jones?
Danko Jones. Danko Jones. There's a song called Gypsy Kiss on there. Is it
the Deep Purple tune?
No, it is not the Deep Purple song. There's a lot of songs out there that will say fuck or fuck you in it, but they actually spell fuck you in the song. It's like F-U-C-K-Y-O-U.
If I'm not mistaken, a Gypsy's Kiss is a blowjob.
We're not going to say no to that either.
We are not. But great. It's an excellent album. There's a song called Dropping the Needle talking about like love of like listening to music and everything. It's just a great album. The song Skin and Bones has a friggin' monster ass riff in it.
Is it available at our local record stores, or is their distribution not too hot for you to get it online?
I'd say you stand a better chance of getting it online.
Probably.
You could probably get it on Amazon a little easier than going down to Gallery of Sound. You may find it though. You may. That's one I would definitely like to get on vinyl. I would love to hear that like on vinyl. Would just
love
be,
vinyl.
It would just
Vinyl's
be
the
kick ass.
best.
Like I said, I want to listen to it. I like to sit down and actually, not necessarily a headphone, but just sit down and
Get a good feel for
good
it.
feel for it. But I've listened to it maybe 2-3 times tops, I'll be honest. It just gives you that good feel, and I need to check it out more.
Yeah, that one song Steve already touched on, Dark Days, the harmonica in that song, it just fits so well. It's really a great addition to something heavy that when you hear the harmonica, you're really not used to hearing it like that. But the way they blend it in with their sound is really, really cool.
Is it like reminiscent of Blackfoot when they used to do like Train and stuff like that? 'Cause
Yeah, kind of. Yeah,
I've
like
only
the
caught a
old
couple of
heavier
songs,
southern.
and I've been curious, but now you've piqued me. So the two things I'm going to be looking for is Trick or Treat and this.
Yeah, it's good. I didn't really have any expectations one way or another of what it was going. I knew it would be like a rock album, and I knew it wasn't going to be like a Motorhead-ish type album
Or a Phil Collins type album.
Yeah, but it has the attitude. It definitely has the rude, fast, hard rocking attitude. I would love to see these guys live. They actually have a live EP out also that came out last year. This album came out this year, but it's a phenomenal album. You guys get out there, check out your Motorhead, check out all the Motorhead albums. You have God only knows how many hours of music that is all together. But just give a nod to the old school Motorhead. Throw on your Ace of Spades. Do yourself a favor. Skip the song Ace of Spades, because you know what the fuck that is. Start out the album with "Love Me Like a Reptile," and just go right through.
Vinyl, Ace of Spades is first song on side 2.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't lead off on vinyl.
So they shuffled it for CD world.
Yeah.
They wanted to grab you right off the bat. Excellent, you guys. Excellent show.
Hey, can I send a shout out to my daughter Vanessa, who'll probably be listening to this?
Absolutely.
Hey, Vanessa. Victoria. will.
Hello, Vanessa. Victoria. Well, even if you're listening, we'll say hello to you too. We appreciate it. We have a lot of listeners and supporters out there. We appreciate everybody listening. I read a 5-star review at the beginning of the show, and you guys keep listening, keep sharing us out there, interact with us on Facebook, and I'm going to give a shout out to some of our listeners out there, and I'll do them all tonight, BB, since you're a keyboard player tonight. I want to thank my wife, Corey, for putting up with all this stuff, Dylan, who is at school this evening, Mark Satorka, that did all the music for our stuff that you hear on this, our guest, Jim Polkowski. Thank you, Jim, for coming here and putting up with us again.
Thanks for putting up with me.
No problem. Ed and Chris Jankowskis that were our guest hosts on the Deep Purple episode. You guys knocked it out of the fucking park. It was fucking great. Steve Dill, thank you for your posts interacting. Him and I have been going back and forth on a couple posts on a couple songs that we've been posting. Becky Conley, thank you for all your interaction with us. I want to give a shout out to Wolfgang Hill from Hamburg, Germany, one of our European listeners out there. Wolfgang.
Wolfgang, thank you.
Sarabella Burnett, Spencer Wetmore, he's another guy that really interacts with us out there. Appreciate it. Stephen Michael and Sonny Pooney from the Growing Up Rock podcast. Love you guys. You guys kick ass. Alec Ferenik, Aaron Martell, he interacts with us a lot. BB's buddy Glenn Palmer, Lewis Reynolds, Thomas Profeta, Brian Rush in, our buddy Ken Keenan that was on the vinyl episode with us, Bill Elam, Jen Roberts Vena, who you will be hearing from very soon, our good friend of the podcast, R.A. Furiosi, Kalen Provo, you're out there interacting with us all the time, you're awesome. Mark Anthony K, thanks for sharing us. We will definitely have you back on the show coming up soon. Walt Ignatovich, one of my old school friends, and Scott Rossi. You guys, thanks for listening.
Scott Rossi, it's about fucking time.
Oh, see that? All right. I didn't know it was going to make BB angry. I'm sorry.
You won't like him when he's angry.
Calm down.
Sorry.
I'm assuming you know BB, so I'll just leave it at that. And you guys, I really appreciate you guys interacting with us out there.
Yeah, what a great episode. And I'm a big believer, and I keep telling everyone out there, pick up some new music. And this episode, even though their first album was 1977, to me, This was new music because, like I said, I never owned a Motorhead album, and
Never
what
say
a
never.
great catalog of songs I actually listened to the last 10 days.
You're welcome.
And once again, here comes the homework thing. We say about the homework all the time, how we do on the podcast. Now, if you guys don't listen to music out there and do old, new, pick up anything, just listen to it. It's great. There's so much. I don't even know what the word I'm. There's like so much.
There's so many different bins to go through.
Yeah, and you always skip over one bend to go to another bend, and
That's
now
what's
you
nice
come
about
back to the bend. It's just a great way to expand your musical library in your head. BC.
Again, I want to thank Jim because here's a guy that knows his Motorhead, and Chris and his brother Ed, Deep Purple. I mean, here's guys that lived it for someone like me who not necessarily did live it, but not as much as you guys. I learn something every week, and like BB said, the homework, and
I'm a taskmaster.
80% of my life is music, and I'm still discovering new shit, which is exciting.
Well, all I can say is, in my defense of being a Motorhead fan, is you probably had more girls. 'Cause not many women like Motorhead, but
And more
Pick up more chicks with Doc, and then you're gonna Motorhead.
yeah, but have more self-respect with Motorhead.
But anywho,
Speak for yourself.
That's what's great about. Again, you can check. There's so much good music out there. We don't all have to like it, but it's great to be fans of it and celebrate our fandom doing stuff like this. You guys have introduced me to check out new albums, and I hope I've done the same for you guys out there.
Absolutely. Before I have my final thoughts here, one thing that I forgot to mention is I want to talk just real briefly about the influence that Motorhead has had out there on some of the other bands that we listen to. On the new Saxon album, Thunderbolt,
we played rock and roll.
they have a song called "They Played Rock and Roll," and that was what Lemmy would say. We are Motorhead. We play rock and roll. That's one of the songs on the new Motorhead album,
And Saxon went out on
or
the
Saxon
road.
album. I'm sorry, and the last Metallica album, Hardwired to Self-Destruct, they have a song called Murder One that's named after Lemmy's amp head. You even have a thrash metal band, Overkill. Song and album. Metallica, they've covered the song Overkill and the song Damage Case. Lemmy was a big supporter of Twisted Sister.
Yes.
He was. He was very, yes.
He went out at the Reading Festival. They were literally throwing shit at Twisted Sister.
Human shit.
How much do you have to hate someone when you throw like your own shit at them? I mean, but Lemmy came out and said, "Listen, I like these guys. Give them a chance," and they did, and they were doing that TV show, and like Dee Snider, like Lemmy came out and told them, check these guys out, and Dee Snider got the makeup remover on stage and took his makeup off on stage. And Lemmy was a big supporter of those guys. It shows you that the influence that these guys had out there. And there's many, many more, but I just wanted to touch on that really, really quickly. Like we all said, check out new music. Hopefully you check out the Phil Campbell and the Bastard Sons album. It's called The Age of Absurdity. It is fucking phenomenal. It is a great front to back to front, slamming hard rock album. I don't consider it metal, just as I don't consider Motorhead metal, but it is a good hard rock album. The vocals are good. There's no screaming Cookie Monster vocals, but it's great. And you guys get out there, check out new stuff. I really appreciate everybody listening out there. Please give us a review on Facebook. More importantly, give us, if you can, jump on iTunes, give us a 5-star review on there. That helps us get out there, and what it does is it associates us with other podcasts that are like ours, and it gets us out there to more people that will hopefully listen to us and share our episodes out there. And tell us what you guys, if you guys want to hear us do an episode on
Yanni?
whatever, no. Any kind of hard rock or metal or anything like that. If you have a great idea for a show, maybe we'll have you on the show. We've had people come up with ideas, and we've had them on the show. And I'm going to say right now that BC and BB are going to be relieved, because the next show that we are going to record is going to be one that they're not going to really have to do a lot of homework for.
All right.
So, sigh of relief. But it's a show that we've been kind of planning on doing, and we've been throwing around a couple different things to do, and we know you guys will like this show. It's gonna be very interesting that
Yanni?
we have this show.
Yes.
Jim is going to start his own Yanni podcast, so when he gets that going, I will give you guys the site to go check it out. And we really enjoyed having you guys here. Jim, once again, thank you for
having
spending
me.
time with us, and share us out there, and we will see you next time, and there will be a next time.
Metal Shop.